You're watching Real Simple News on Sunday, May 24th. And I'm your host, Cale McCullough. In today's top story, federal judge in General Michael Flynn case lawyers up with a high-powered D.C. attorney. The federal judge who denied a Justice Department request to immediately drop the prosecution of former Trump advisor Michael Flynn has hired a high-powered D.C. attorney to defend his decision. U.S. District Judge Emmett Sullivan has retained Beth Wilkins to represent him in federal appeals court in Washington. And is currently reviewing whether or not Sullivan overstepped his authority in the case against former National Security Advisor Flynn's lawyer. After Flynn's lawyer tried to force Sullivan to toss Flynn's guilty plea, the appeals court set a June 1st deadline for Sullivan to respond to a petition from Flynn's lawyer seeking the case's immediate dismissal. The Justice Department said it's dropping the case after Flynn initially pled guilty in 2017 to lying about the FBI about his communications with the Russian ambassador to the U.S. But the Justice Department earlier this month moved to drop its criminal case against him. In court documents, the Justice Department said it wanted to drop the case after, quote, after considerable review of the facts and circumstances in the case, including newly discovered evidence and disclosed information. Wilkins is known in D.C. for taking on high-profile defendants. Of late, she has most notably represented Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh during his contentious Senate confirmation hearings. And so the scandal here is, the prosecutors wanted to drop the case, but this judge somehow took some sort of odd interest in the case and just wanted to pursue the case, which technically they're allowed to do. But the precedence that's in the court is that the state is to bring the charges. And if the state does not wish to pursue the charges, then the court is supposed to go with whatever the state says, because they're the one. It's like you're in a lawsuit. There's two parties, and then one party decides they want to dismiss the case. Like the judge can't just force you to keep going in the case. You said, "Hey, I've requested dismiss this," and if they decide not to, it's because they have some sort of political reason as to why they think that they're above the law, because the law says that the people are supposed to be in control. The government is the people, and so it's pretty suspicious. This guy's getting a high-profile attorney. Now, any attorney is going to advise that you get an attorney in a situation like that. So that's not really inherently suspicious. But the judge knows he messed up, and they should not have pursued General Flynn. This was obviously some deep state coming after Flynn because they didn't like Trump, because Trump was not a quote-unquote Republican to them. But the reality of the situation is that the Republican Party before Donald Trump came was representing a fringe portion of the Republican Party that was in control. And Donald Trump is the one that actually represents the people that the Republicans represent. And so that's why the deep state hates Donald Trump so much, is because Donald Trump is not part of their deep state crew, and he is draining the swamp. And they didn't like this because to them that means that they're coming after them. So they have to come after Donald Trump and General Flynn in order to stop them from being able to participate in politics, because they're the ones, the deep state are the ones who are in control of the political process. And if you don't like that, well, they're going to come after you. So there's only one solution at that point in time, is to drain the swamp. All right, let's check out some more stories.
And to build the wall, baby, 50 feet tall. Thank you. I used to hate the wall back when I was a liberal before I joined the Walk Away campaign. But now that I know the truth, now I want them to build it 60 feet tall. But I recognize I'm not going to get that. So I'm not going to push it 50 feet tall. Okay. We can live with 50 feet tall. What's this first story? Oh, I have to issue a correction. On the last show, there was an article, and I forget exactly which one it is, but they had brought up that that Donald Trump had fired, I forgot how many inspector generals, and the story made it sound like Donald Trump was like trying to hide something, and I too fell for the fake news. I apologize. I fell for the fake news because the way that they worded the article absolutely was deceptive. I bet we could pull it out because it's not really actually that far away. Actually, I've set up a couple of shows here and then I didn't do them. Sorry. It's a lot of work to get the thumbnails. If anybody wants to help me out, I'm looking for some help. But the article was saying that he's trying to cover it up something by firing the inspector generals. And this is absolute horseshit nonsense, dude. First, the article made it seem like he fired the same inspector general multiple times because they are uncovering the same thing. It was very deceptive. Here was the article that I was gonna do for the fact check here. The people that he fired were Obama era appointees. President Obama is suspected of having committed some crimes, some high crimes while he was in office with the unmasking of General Flynn and with the unlawful surveillance of Trump Tower. We thought the dude was kooky, or Trump was nuts. Whenever he started going off about that he had his wires tapped, right? And so I remember there was these memes. I'm looking up in the other monitor here, trying to find the meme. And we thought it was just absolute batshit crazy. And we thought it was the most hilarious thing that Trump said, yeah, my wires tapped. And I remember there's that one picture of the Obama on Trump Tower with the suction cup up on the window. And I'm looking for it. And we laughed so hard, and we thought that the conservatives were crazy. But as it turned out, actually, Obama did have Trump's wires tapped. And that might be an older expression, and Trump got a lot of shit for using an older expression. But the guy's older, and back in the day, they actually literally went in and like took a voltage meter and tapped the wire. Like you're using a multimeter, right? They actually tapped the wire. So this fake news stuff from the media has just been like absolutely bad for our country, because in Europe, they turn on our mainstream media and they see what they're saying about Donald Trump, and they think that we are absolutely horrible people that we elected. Either we're like these racist hillbillies, or that we are, or they think that our country's been corrupted by the media, because not everyone believes the fake news media in Europe. But there's a large percentage of people in other countries that think that Donald Trump engages in hate speech, which is illegal in their country. And so this is definitely a problem for our country because it's a public relations problem. No matter what these rad libs and rad femmes like to say, Donald Trump is our president, and he is working for Team America. And to that, I say, fuck yeah. So let's move on to the next story here. First story of the day is of scumbag piece of shit starter of the Me Too movement, Ronan Farrow, tried to kill New York Magazine story on Woody Allen's wife. Daphne Merkel claims. So if you're not familiar with this whole thing with Woody Allen and what happened, there's a good documentary on YouTube. I can't remember the exact name about why Woody Allen is innocent. And I'm thoroughly convinced that Woody Allen is innocent and that Mia Farrow made false accusations of child rape against Woody Allen because there's just a number of things that were absolutely just blaringly suspicious. And, of course, Woody Allen didn't go to jail for it, obviously, because he was not convicted of that. But it still destroyed his life. So what Mia Farrow, one of the things that just sticks out in my mind was when they said that Woody Allen raped his daughter, or his stepdaughter, was that they said that he took her into an attic and they played in this area that there was like a child's play area. But it was during this time, they said they were unsupervised. But during this time, they were in a contentious child custody battle, and they were looking for anything that they could try to do to get Woody Allen to make him lose custody. And so the way that they described the attic was like as if like you could just like walk around there and play. But as it turns out, the thing was like not renovated. Like there was boards missing from the floor with insulation exposed. There's these facts that stick out. I haven't watched this in years, but the facts stick out in your mind because of how blaring it gets under your. It really irritates you that Mia Farrow did that. And Ronan Farrow, this guy's a lying sack of shit, dude. He's the guy who started the Me Too movement, who wrote all the articles exposing what's that one music producer, Harvey Weinstein. And so this guy, Ronan Farrow, he is a pathological liar. And his mother, Mia Farrow, who is a very manipulative person, who is a very outspoken feminazi. She's rad femme. She is just trying to milk the feminist community to get fame and fortune. And they practice this. They've got videos of, or they've got, I listened to or watched the video clips of their stepdaughter on camera, like doing these really sketchy, like obviously rehearsed, like Mia was coercing her daughter to say this. It's just obvious because she's putting words in her mouth. Mia Farrow is putting words in her stepdaughter's mouth. And so, Ronan, if you're here, let's read it in the article. That's the background on it. Every Ronan Farrow story features a predictable villain who unleashes lawyers to harass and heckle reporters off a story. But in 2018, that villain was Ronan Farrow himself. According to journalist Daphne Merton, Farrow and his family directed a pressure campaign towards top brass at New York Magazine in the days before published Merkel's lengthy profile of Soon-Yi Prevlin, the wife of Woody Allen and adoptive daughter of Allen's ex Mia Farrow, Merkin, who has never spoken publicly about the conflict, told the Post, I quote, "I wasn't used to this level of fear, fear of Ronan being sued of the power of Mia and Ronan, simply culturally their power on Twitter." And end quote, Merkin said. Allen, 84, infamously began an affair with Pervin, now 49, in 1991 when the director and actress Mia Farrow were still together. Pervin was only 21 and living in Farrow's home. Merkin's story included Pervin's brutal assessment of Mia Farrow's parenting and her dismal of decades-long Farrow family allegations that Allen sexually assaulted his 7-year-old adoptive daughter, Dylan Farrow, in 1992. Prevalent had been silent on his mother matter for a decade, and Allen this story's just got some real fluff. I'm not sure if that's exactly gets right to the point. This is what Ronan Farrow did. He's been making false accusations about people. So there's that NBC reporter, and what is his name? Matt Lauer. Okay. So Matt Lauer is innocent. Ronan Farrow made it up. Not only did he make it up, he didn't lie. He used cunning manipulation in order to deceive you with facts that he knew weren't true. What he did was he made claims that women who were working at the same place where Matt Lauer were on this on sets with him, they were sexually assaulted by other people who were on the set. Ronan Farrow, little scumbag piece of shit motherfucker, he wrote stories saying that these women were sexually assaulted, and he made it sound like Matt Lauer did it, but he left out he said the women were assaulted while working with Matt Lauer, but he didn't tell you they were assaulted by other people, because he's a little scumbag piece of shit. He's a manipulative liar. Him and his mother are both scum. I've spent too much time on this dirtbag piece of shit. Let's move on to a story about somebody that matters. Next story from Newsweek. 67 New Jersey pastors say they'll sue if not allowed to reopen. Question why people can go to Home Depot but not to church. And that is a very, very, very good question. I would really like to know exactly why it is that Home Depot is considered an essential service, but churches are not considered an essential service. Hello. Hello. You have freedom of assembly and you have freedom of religion. They are not to curtail these, and that means that they're allowed to regulate businesses for one reason, because they trade in US dollars. They're inside of the borders of the United States. And that means that they're allowed to dictate whether or not you're allowed to trade money or not. Because in a court battle, let's say you have two people have a piece of property. Let's say it's a chair. They're fighting over a chair. You exchange the chair. Inside of this court battle, the United States government does not own the chair. You own the chair. And the United States government can come in and take the chair away if the chair is deemed to be a public health threat. Okay? Money, on the other hand, is not a public health threat, right? There's no it's like having a big jug of water. There is not going to be a chair can be a public health threat if people are going to hurt themselves on it. Like if they refuse to move a chair that has that is a potentially dangerous chair. But if it's like a jug of water that can't be dangerous, it's like you own that water. So I'm an amateur constitutional law what do you call it? Amateur lawyer. I've just been in the courtroom long enough to know these laws. So with the money, though, on the other hand, the money has inside of it has property of the United States government. So when you are in a courtroom and they're deciding where the money goes, the court is allowed to decide where the money goes because the money belongs to the United States government and they are a party that has a stake inside of it. So it's slightly different than your property, which you have a right to have. You don't have a right to actually have the money. It is actually the property of the United States government, and they could take it back from you at any time. Your property, on the other hand, they have to go through an extra level of due process, procedural and substantive due process in order to deprive you of that. And it has to be clear and convincing evidence. This is the thing, is that it has to be clear and convincing as opposed to a preponderance of the evidence because the state has a stake in it. So with that said, businesses, the government has a right to regulate whether or not you're engaging in commerce because the feds can regulate you because your goods can cross state lines. They can and they do. And also, but the churches are not like this. They are a 504C3, 503C4, right? Charity. 503 charity. Let me make sure that I'm telling you right. Oh, because I haven't looked at that one in a little while. Yeah. 501. No, it's 501C3 and then 501C4. And the C4 is the churches, and they're not allowed to engage in political behavior with that. And so this is how the Citizens United funnels their dark money around, is through 50C3 same thing as a church. But these people are not engaging in commerce. They do take money as donations, but that can be taken back by the church, or by those donations can be taken. Hold on. I'm at the end of my ability to give you any sort of legal good illegal information, but it's just wrong that they've been saying that the churches are not essential, because it all seems to be a matter of opinion whether or not you can improve your home or go to Walmart and buy clothing at Walmart. You know, those things don't really necessarily seem to be that essential. Next story from New York Post: coronavirus resistors could get violent if lockdown drags on, feds warn. The federal government is warning that the essential workers and authority figures, public and private, are the highest risk of being attacked by stay-at-home resistors as coronavirus pandemic drags on. Counterterrorism analysts at the Department of Homeland Security notified law enforcement officials and government leaders of their findings Thursday, according to ABC News, which obtained the reports. Quote, some illicit actors probably will view any continued state-mandated orders as government overreach, and anticipated safely guidelines and policies, specifically the use of face masks, probably also will be served as a driving factor behind continuing violent incidences related to the pandemic, the analyst wrote. Protesters have responded violently to the mandatory lockdowns that virtually all states have imposed and now are beginning to lift. Early in May, white supremacists posted a sheriff's private information online because they were angry over the arrest of a Colorado man who was encouraged others to carry firearms at an anti-lockdown demonstration. Yeah, I mean, what are we supposed to do? I mean, when the government takes your rights away, they usually don't give them back. That's the problem. And Democrats, they say, oh, yeah, no. It's the Republicans who are the racist ones. Those are the ones that you got to worry about. They're the fascist ones, right? Because, like, far right means fascist because it's, like, racist, right? Liberals don't know history or talk about these things very much because their responses are rather silly, because the people who owned slaves and started the KKK and opposed women's suffrage were not the Republicans who were the ones that freed the slaves. The party of Lincoln, no. The Democrats have always been the party of racism that Hitler actually modeled his laws and policies after. And what you have to understand is that the Democratic Party has just been out to try to maintain control the entire time. They don't care what they have to tell you. They are just there to try to control you because they operate under fear, because the entire moralistic framework under Steven Pinker's universal morals, which is a famous psychologist. It's a beautiful, it's a theory, but it's like more like they say it's a theory, but it's like a law. It's like there's 5 classifications of morals that everyone in the world shares. There's fairness, cleanliness, authority, group loyalty, and self-protection. And I finally actually can say them all without forgetting one, because I always forget one. But every culture around the world weights these differently. And the reason why liberals always end up to be the authoritarian ones is because they care more about fairness than they do about authority or self-protection. What they want is they want what sounds good, because in the moment when you're at the protest and you chant these things and you blame other people for the problems that you're having, then people start to believe this stuff. And morals are basically a better way of saying morals are they're things that piss people off and motivate people to do things. Right? So when people say you're being immoral, that you're a sinner, that means that you just piss them off. You don't like the way that they act. They want you to do something, right? This is what you have to translate this into. So with liberals, the ends always justifies the means. They don't care. All they want is they want the side that they see as the people to win. And that's how the Democratic Party as a whole, they're just saying whatever the hell they have to do to keep power. This is why they pander to minorities, because they recognize white supremacy wasn't popular anymore. So they had to pivot from white supremacy into the war on drugs, because this is another problem. The liberals blame the Republicans for the war on drugs, which, yes, Republicans started. Nixon was not our favorite Republican first. Reagan continued the war on drugs, but at that point in time, there was very few people who were in jail. It was people who probably would have been in jail anyways, because they were like on a load of heroin and they were robbing banks. But there was very few. It was not like an overcrowded situation. This did not happen until Bill Clinton. This is what people don't understand. People don't understand that the Democrats started the KKK and opposed women's suffrage. This is like a shock to most liberals. They're like, what? That's the party that I thought was perfect. And the Republicans were the racists. And they're saying, and then you got this Trump derangement syndrome. And these people are just wackos, man. Like, they think Republicans are racist because they oppose immigration. It's like almost every single group of people opposes immigration that like replaces their culture. Every culture, except for white liberals. And why? And it's because the other groups of people are all like, yeah, I'm like oppressed. I'm discriminated against. You know, like I've seen like black people like that'll like just blame white people left and right, and they'll be like, no, you could never, no, you're white man. Like I met this African dude at this bar. He got kicked out. And this dude's hating on white. He's like blaming everybody. He's like talking about how he's oppressed left and right, and like how, and then eventually just gets his ass kicked out of the bar because the bartender was tired of it and he was being a jerk to people. And this is what happens when people start blaming other people. They don't take responsibility, and like it's like 2/3 of black people are voting for them, and they're all in the city, right? Right. So you got a problem if the people backing you up are the hood gangsters and the people who are coming from other countries. I mean, a lot of them are first generation Americans. They're Americans too, right? But there's a thing about it is like we've been here for hundreds of years. It's like they want, like the Latinos want to, they've been here for like, because they used to be like 8% or 5% Latinos or something, like 3 or something at some point in time. And then now they ballooned up to almost 25% of the population. They're like 15%. They're going to balloon up to 25, almost a third of the population for the next 20 years. Okay. And it's all from immigration. It's all like their local population's got a birth rate of 1.96, replacements 2.1 people for a woman. So all of these people that are flooding in and replacing the people in our country, they're not actually like, they're from out of the country. It's not our own people that are growing. It's people out of the country that are flooding in across the border. 4 out of 5 of them are getting away. And, but they're like saying you're a white supremacist. If you like want to enforce the border, it's like, these people are kooky. These liberals, they literally think you're a white supremacist. If you want to enforce immigration, like, dude, I live in this country. Like, I want my kids to control this country. I want my family, my personal family to control this country, right? But they're like, oh, but you're white. You can't do that. Why? Because we're not considered native. We're considered invasive, like we should go back to Europe or something. Like, I'm sorry to have to break it to you, but I can't go back to Europe. I don't know where in Europe my family's from. All I know is that my crazy hippie dad, who was friends with Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, named me Kel Jamison McCullough because they thought that we were like really Irish, and turns out we're more French. So I don't even know where the hell we came from. And they're like, no, you're like not supposed to be here. Like the Latinos have more right to be here. And then they're like, they have to have equal. They just came into the country. Right? They've been here in the country. They migrated up here because they're poor, right? And they've been here for 15, 20 years, right? And then the liberals want to give them equal fair share. They're like, no, that's white supremacy. You have to immediately give them everything. It's like, dude, we've been here for hundreds of years. I mean, you would expect if we've been here for hundreds of years and people immigrated in here and they're super poor, that they would not be able to be equal. They would not be financially on the same foot as us because we've been here for hundreds of years. This is the problem with these liberals. These are the people instituting the lockdowns. These are because they think in these simplistic terms that white people are bad because they took the land from the Native Americans, even though the Native Americans died from smallpox, right? But somehow it's the white man's fault because somehow the white man created smallpox as a biological weapon to take out the Native Americans and steal their land hundreds of years ago, back before anybody even knew what electricity was, right? And somehow the Native Americans are the ones who are supposed to control this country, not the people who live here and have ownership deeds over the land, whose children are going to be here. Those people aren't native, right? Like, they're not considered a native. So that's why they don't support immigration. That's why they want open borders. That's why they want to shut everything down, because they just think in these 30-second sound bites where it sounds great. It sounds great. Like, I'm always respectful to everybody. Like, I love Latinos. They're great, especially Latinos with big tits, right? They're hot and they're cool, right? But what does this have to do about the story? We got to watch out because these people are authoritarian. They're trying to, this is what the point of the story is, right? Is they're trying to help these other people to be fair. Like, they want to give, California gave what, $100 million to payouts to illegal immigrants. Like, yeah, I understand they pay taxes, but dude, they were broke. That's why when they moved here to this country, they were poor. Before they did not have money. That's why they moved here. 4 out of 5 of them just got across the border of the illegal immigrants, just made it through the border. 1 out of 5 got caught. And there's 20 illegal immigrants for every single homeless person on the streets. You can look up the numbers. There's 10.5 million illegal immigrants. Half of them are from Mexico. My state used to be 8% Latino. Now it's 24.6% Latino. Most of them from Mexico. I'm in Oregon, next to California. They're flooding up from California. We don't know who these people are. I mean, they're nice. They work as like landscapers. So like we know them and they're really nice people, right? But like, where'd they come from, dude? Where do they live? Is there like a place where there's all Latinos around here? Like I've been living here my whole life, dude. It's like finding out that there's like another country inside of your country and you're like, wow, they all speak Spanish over there. They're all Mexicans. Oh, wow. But I can't do anything about it because it's white supremacy. So you got to protect your country. Don't listen to these liberals, dude. Don't let them lock you down because the thing is they're going to take away your rights and they're not going to give them back, dude. Nancy Pelosi wants to give what you have away to people who will vote for her. That's what she wants to do. Like they just gave $100 million of the taxpayers' money to illegal immigrants who were used to being poor. Like they're not even supposed to be here. They're technically not paying rent because it's illegal to endorse someone to be in the United States, right? It's a crime to harbor illegal immigrants, yet somehow they gave away $100 million to illegal immigrants, $1,200 each. So I'm definitely saying that we shouldn't try to like start any civil war nonsense. Like that shit was stupid. That whole cold civil war is what they called it in 2016 when the liberals and the conservatives were hating on each other. And when you have to understand about why these people hate each other is to the liberals, they don't understand why the conservatives say no to everything. They don't understand. To them, they're like, dude, the conservatives are just hateful people. They say no to everything we say. You know who else says no to everything I say? Almost every smart person I know. In fact, what I'm saying is correct, I have to sit there and like twist their arm to try to get them to actually agree with me. You want to know why? Because they're smart. They said no. Does a hot chick say yes? Fuck me to every guy she sees? No. Why? Because every dude wants to fuck her. So she has to say no to everybody because everybody's got some crazy, stupid, harebrained idea. And then they think you're an idiot if you don't believe them. It's human nature, dude. That's the way it is. So you got to be careful because the liberals are just absolutely livid, pissed. They got Trump derangement syndrome, dude. They literally think Republicans are racist for trying to kick out illegal immigrants because they want to be fair to everybody. But, you know, being fair to everybody is being fair to no one because this country is supposed to belong to second, third, fourth, fifth generation Americans. And the first generation Americans are new. They're the lowest ones on the totem pole. And that's because we've been here for hundreds of years. And that's because the resources are where the people who've been here for hundreds of years are. And you're not just going to move here and instantly get it. But the liberals just want to instantly just transfer because they think, you see, all these diversity programs, they're actually anti-white male programs. See, they're masked as saying diversity. But what are they saying? They're saying there's too many white people. And specifically, there's too many white males in these jobs that have all the money. And like Google just shut down their anti-diversity program. Here, let's look at this. I posted it on Twitter here. I'm going to pull it up. Sorry, it's a little bit tangential from this article, but I just thought that since I'm thinking about it here, let's see what the kooky Google people, the nonsensical Google people. Here's the next story here from Forbes. It's Google cuts diversity program over fears of seeming anti-conservative, according to reports. And Google has been having this diversity program. So they want more diversity because they think it's inferior to just have all white people on the same team, especially all white males, or if you have 75% white males on a team, that means that you're not being fair to the minorities, even though 76.5% of people are white. So this is the thing that's messed up. Okay, why are they doing it? What's the percentage of people who work at Google? It's 56% white people. The U.S. is like 76.5% white people. And then you got 4.8% black people. What percent of the U.S. is black? Just going off. It's like 13%. Then 5.5% is Latino. And then 33% is Asian. Okay. And yeah, this one's saying like 13.6% population. Okay, so these numbers are low, but the Asian percent is 33%. So here it shows you the conundrum that these people are in. I'm an engineer, so I have to deal with this shit because these diversity people are jerks on the internet to me. Because like anytime you say anything that sounds sexist or against immigrants, they're on the internet all the time because they're programmers, right? And so they're obsessively on Twitter. And then they flame you. Dude, they just troll you. Dude, they attack you. They don't stop. Like a lot of these like biggest jerks on Twitter are computer programmers. And it's because they're on the computer all the time and they're pissed off. So the problem with this is like, what race of people are you going to target here? Right? What gender? Right? So they're like, oh, well, we want more women, right? So who gets targeted, right? They want more diversity. So who are you going to target? The Asians? Well, look at what percentage of San Francisco is Asian? It's about 33%. Because the Chinese people were like brought in and as like slave labor pretty much back in the day with those Shanghai tunnels. And so who are you? So you're going to target so it's an anti-Asian male program. No, we're going to target the white people. So it's an anti-white people party then, huh? Or program then, right? You're like, no, it's a pro-Latino and pro-black thing. It's like, dude, okay, so where the hell are these Latinos coming from, dude? They're coming from Mexico. And why? Because they're immigrants and they were poor. Which means what? They weren't very well educated. Which means what? You're not going to see very many of them applying for jobs there, dude. So they're like, oh, well, no, we need more women because we want more. Why do you want more women? Oh, because it's fair. So it's twice as easy now for women to get jobs at these STEM places. It is. That's a statistic. It's twice as easy for the women to get jobs. So what does that mean? It's biased for the women and against me. You're like, oh, well, we're trying to boost the numbers of women. But it's like, so that means it's supposed to be harder for me as a white male to get a job? There's no good way to deal with it other than to let people just do it themselves. Because the fact of these statistics are that women choose different professions. Like, let's look at the percent of men and women in each. Shoot. Okay, we're behind a paywall here. But hey, we can still look at it like this. So we can see here. Shoot. Okay, so if I could actually log into this paywall, which I'm not going to be able to do, but I'm going to try, what you'll see is that there's a even random distribution of people in different fields. So down here, there's like a what in math is called a uniform random distribution. And so what that means is that all of these different professions, they're distributed They're distributed evenly. Like each profession has a different random amount, and there's no like clump of men or women in any of these particular professions, but it just so happens some of the higher professions have more men in them. And so the feminists want to say this is like patriarchy that's like holding women down. But the reality of the situation is that women like to date men who are more successful, because if they're not, then they're dating a loser. But this is patriarchy. This is misogyny. This is sexism. And this is all coming from the tech industry, from Silicon Valley, by these people who are trying to control us and lock us down. So I did follow it up, and I did remain on point. It just seemed like a tangent. Here's the next story from BBC News. Coronavirus, New York State daily death toll drops below 100. Yeah! Woo! That's awesome. I mean, hold on. Not that 100 people died, but that it's that low. Just to be clear, some people are going to be like, he's cheering on that 100 people died. No. 100 people died per day, given the population of the state of New York, is going to be flu-like levels. That would be, it's a normal level. I mean, it always sucks when people die, but let's just hope. Let's just hope life won't go back to complete normal, because global warming is just going to be the next thing that we're just going to all have to be staying indoors from. So let's just stop with these vacations. Here, let's look at the statistics of what percent of... Oh, you know what? Hold on. Actually, I think I can... Just give me one moment. I just remembered I can actually probably go into a different browser and show you the percents of men and women in different industries, because they won't. I don't know. It depends on how they do their paywall. It one more time. Please forgive me if it shows up as a paywall again. Wow. Nope, it's behind a paywall. I'm sorry. Wasted your time. Moving on to the next story here from New York Post. Missouri among states that conflated coronavirus test results. Report says a percentage of people coming up positive for the coronavirus in Missouri were artificially low because the state combined two kinds of testing results. According to a result, the test was mixed with the results of tests for the COVID-19 virus, which showed active infections with those from antibody testings with demonstrated prior infections. What does it say the actual percent was? It says blah, blah, blah. So about 6.5% of the tests were positive, but after separating the two types, data revealed about 8.3% had tested positive for active infections. Here's the next story. New York Times dedicates entire front page to the names of U.S. coronavirus victims. Except for they forgot to fact check the article, and it turns out that they had accumulated a bunch of obituaries from local newspapers that were weren't listing the cause of death accurately. So they got called out on it. And it says here, U.S. death rates near 100,000, an incalculable loss. And I mean, I understand, yes, there are a lot of people died. That's horrible. But let's be real. We can calculate that loss. Like, we can actually calculate physically how much income the people made. We can calculate up how many hours, how many minutes they suffered. We can put a min and a max bounds on it. We could put a financial cost as to like how much that would cost. We could put put a cost on family time, distractions, and pain, we can. It's 100,000 people. The whole term incalculable loss means that there's been so much loss that you could not calculate it. And so, for one example is Syria. You've been in a war zone for so long. The population has been detrimented for so long, just murdered, gassed, tortured, that you couldn't even calculate how much these people have lost, because it's been so much over such a long period of time that you could not calculate it. It's incalculable. But with coronavirus, we can actually get there out a calculator. We could say out of 100,000 people, on average, they had an annual income, and we can actually calculate how much they lost and how much time they suffered. So I'm going to call them out on it. Sloppy reporting. Call it out when you see it. But yeah, let's give a little bit of a moment for all the dead people. Moving on, that's more time than I gave to anybody who ever died from the flu. Next story here, Trump warns mail-in voting may result in greatest rigged election in history. I personally am for mail-in voting, but I definitely agree with him here. You cannot change the entire system. I don't care if our system's not perfect. You can't change the whole thing in one election. I'm sorry. You got to roll it out over time. We got to see where all these problems are. I personally am a computer programmer. I dabble in AI. I know a little bit about it. I know a lot about it. Not as much as an expert, but I do own a startup. I do actually have to program the stuff myself. And from what I can tell you, there are other verification techniques that are better than just the ballot system, because that one's just not so great. Like those Diebold voting machines, they were notorious for being incredibly easy to hack and not having any sort of paper trace on them. So the current system as is definitely nowhere near as robust as it should. I mean, if you're worried about people cheating, maybe you should improve the voting machines, right? I mean, maybe before you criticize mail-in voting, which does not have the same problem as the voting machine because there is a paper trail, maybe you should improve the voting machines that are already there, right? This would only make sense. This is what I'm going to say you should do, is that we have to use a blockchain technology, because cryptocurrency, it's proven that we are not able to fool everybody at the same time. And if we use a combination of paper voting at your house along with blockchain, with apps where you videotape your face next to the ballot and we show all the answers, and then we can go by and independently verify that the ballot was counted correctly. If we can do that, and they should mail you back your ballot too. I don't understand why they don't mail you back your ballot. Because you need to get your ballot mailed back to verify that it was actually correct, or it needs to be posted in a public place. Like, you need to go downtown, you need to verify it. But every state and municipalities responsible for their own elections. That's the way it works in our country. But yeah, we can't do it all at once, because it will actually get messed up. Like, trust me, somebody out there is going to manipulate the system. People are like, oh no, somebody wouldn't do that. It's like credit card fraud. You're like, well, how did somebody take that one really innocent thing that you're like, oh, like, seemed like it wasn't going to harm anybody, but then the person committed identity fraud because they're doing some social engineering, right? These people exist. Fraudsters are common. We have a court system for this reason. To think that more people won't be showing up in the court system for crimes like this would be kind of crazy. But yeah, over time, we're going to have to change it out, because it just doesn't make any sense to have to risk your life in order to vote. A lot of people just don't vote. So what's this next story from New York Post? Hazmat-inspired suit could protect you from coronavirus while you're partying. California company has invented a high-tech suit with a filtration system that says it could protect party animals itching to let loose without catching the coronavirus, according to a report. Design firm Production Club created the wearable technology suit named Microshell with clubbing and concert in mind. The news station KNTV reported, this guy seemed pretty cool who came up with this. Like, he had some amazing stages. I personally used to make stages for festivals and dance parties, and I thought he was pretty good at making those things. Personally, I think this is kind of crazy. I understand he's an artist and he's just trying to help out, right? But like, yo, dude. No, man. Like, I mean, I understand you can drink beer through here. Like, you could put beer in here. Apparently, you can snort cocaine and ecstasy too. I'm not sure how exactly you're supposed to fit the straw where it goes. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to boof it. Where does the turkey baster go? Is that where the turkey baster goes? Because the parties that I go to have gotten pretty nuts, all right? And those questions do come up, okay? In fact, where is the turkey baster is actually one of the more popular questions. I'm going to have to say no on this unless it's got built-in condoms, because that means that we can just knock ourselves out and nobody is going to get infected with any STDs. And that could be very interesting. I personally would like it to be just really tight latex so I could just lube myself up and get a whole cuddle pole full of fat chicks, just oil them up and just jump in like, right. You've never wanted to fuck a fat chick so much in your life, have you? This is like she's got multiple boobs on each arm, dude. Next story from Newsweek. 80% of publicly traded companies that receive coronavirus stimulus loans for small businesses will keep the funds. The study shows Treasury... A new business analysis has shown that the overwhelming majority of publicly listed companies that received coronavirus stimulus loans from the Fed which were intended for small, struggling businesses and do not plan to return the funds. The study was conducted by Reuters, which analyzed data from the market research firm Facts Squared. The news organization found that as of May 22nd, only 68 of 424 public companies had returned the funds, with those declining to do so and claiming that they needed the funds to maintain operations. Companies who took those loans, despite having enough resources to get through the financial crisis, were required to return the money by May 18th without facing any penalties. But Reuters' analysis found that at least 76 companies who did not return the loans had, quote, enough cash or cash equivalents to cover operating costs until at least June. Ooh, I really hope they get busted because that really pisses me off, man. There's a lot of companies right now that have been dipping their hand into the cookie jar meant for small businesses who pay the majority of the taxes. Hold on, do they? Don't quote me on that. Hold on. They're the largest employer. I'm not going to be able to find out. These things are like all like, what percent of taxes should I pay? Yeah, this is pretty shady, man. A lot of these companies don't care. They're just trying to compete. You know, in one sense, you know, it's like, we got to compete. It's survival of the fittest at this point in time. So a lot of people weren't necessarily the fittest, but at the same point in time, a lot of the fittest were just getting annihilated at the point. So it's kind of just a crap show. I'm not sure exactly what to think. Are they going to pay it back later? Can they compete? How long can they compete? Are they going to be able to provide it over the long term? Seems like there's a lot of companies that weren't hurting for cash that are consolidating. Like what, Jeff Bezos? How much money did he just make? Like $36 billion or something crazy. He's like, he's going to hit $1 trillion at some point in time. And it's like, that's just one dude. That's crazy. We're going to have to tax. I say we tax all of that money, dude. Nobody should be coming out on top at this point in time. We need to get that money back, dude. Like, we can't just keep spending money. Although I personally really think that the Chinese Communist Party is pretty skeezy and that we should stiff them. If we owe anything to the Chinese Communist Party, we really should not pay them back because they're a terrorist organization. Let's be real. They have millions of Muslims in concentration camps, dude. For real. I mean, like actual real, like re-education, like work camps with millions, like 3.5 million Muslims. And to be fair to China, there's that many Muslims who spilled over the border in India, and they also too don't want them there. But China is being completely savagely brutal and like Nazi level. I mean, it's not anything new for the Chinese Communist Party to behave like Nazis because, let's be real, more than 50% of Nazis were communists. Fascism was their second choice. This is why liberalism is bad, because they hate the system so much and the establishment power that they are willing to go get in bed with the enemy in order to take down the privileged, white, racist, sexist, misogynistic, imaginary misogynistic pig, boogeyman, white male. Let me repeat that again. The dangerous white male that mistreats women, beats them, forces them to wear burqas, rapes them, sticks their penis inside of them without consent because they're bad and you need to fear them. Wow. Damn. I mean, for real, dude. Are dudes really that bad, dude? Because, like, I've known some crazy bitches that are fucking mean as fuck, dude. Like, they're straight up, like, evil. Like, saying it's just men. And then turns out it's all a bunch of bullshit, right? There's no patriarchy. It just so happens that women like dudes who are leaders, who people respect and listen to what they say. Moving on. Next article from the New York Post. Where are we at? We're at an hour. Technically supposed to keep it at an hour. This video shows the moment the Michigan dam burst, forcing thousands of people to evacuate. Wow. So here's the video.
There it goes.
Woo. Damn. It takes a little while for the water to come out. Woo.
There we go. There's the rush.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with a river, dude. That thing will take your head off and grind your body into pork sausage. Woo! Hope nobody died. Next article from New York Post. Utah man allegedly stabs Tinder date to death. The Utah man is facing first-degree murder charges for allegedly stabbing his Tinder date to death, police said on Sunday. Ethan Hunsaker, 24, called 911 shortly after 3 a.m. Sunday and told cops he had killed his 28-year-old date just hours after the two met on the popular dating app. Woo! Yeah, that'll make you think twice before you hook up with some dude on the internet. So what's the story with this dude? Police said officers responding to North Reed Avenue found the woman, whose name was not released, with multiple stab wounds to the torso. Hunsaker allegedly choked the woman for about a minute and grabbed a kitchen knife after she fought back, according to the court records. There was marks on Ethan's arms, necks, and shoulders, areas supporting the fight. The court paper said, according to the Desert News, police said in an affidavit that Hunkster started to dispatch. He did not know the person he had just killed, but he just met the victim on an app called Tinder. When officers arrived at the home, Hunsaker continued to tell officers to shoot him. The outlet said first responders attempted to retrieve the woman, but she was pronounced dead at the scene. The motivation behind the homicide is under further investigation. However, the attack appears to have been unprovoked. Hunsaker was booked on murder charges and is at the Davis County Jail waiting for court appearance. Now, let's not just jump to any conclusions. I personally have seen some crazy bitches. Like, I was at this party once and there was this drunk chick that, like, she was upset that some dude wouldn't sleep with her, and she's like pulls out a knife and she's like going around like she's gonna stab everybody at the party, dude. Like, not all these women are innocent, dude. So don't judge him based on his skin color. He's innocent until proven guilty. Most people did. I know. Like the liberals, they're like calling me a white supremacist, and then they're the first ones to call the dude guilty because he's got brown skin. Next article, Fauci, now is the time to care selflessly about one another. Prominent immunologist, coronavirus fighter, and unlikely celebrity? Come on, dude. This dude is not a celebrity. Just because you go on TV to be a speaker does not make you a celebrity. Come on, dude. That's crazy. He offered a pair of surprise graduation addresses this week at Johns Hopkins University and College of the Holy Cross. And so this is the problem with liberals, is they want you to care selflessly. It doesn't matter about yourself. You need to care about other people selflessly. So you need to give up your rights in order to give your power to the establishment, which is the people who are in Fauci's class. Fauci is a very wealthy scientist. He is, and 86% of scientists are Democrats, right? Just because you're smart doesn't mean that you're not an idiot. I personally am an engineer, and these people are geniuses, and then they say the most stupid stuff all the time because they never talk about it, because they're at work. A lot of the stuff is offensive or taboo to talk about at work, and they get these public funding working for government organizations where you can't say anything critical about anyone else. You have to go around in the meeting and say your token diversity statements and say that you're not racist and that you support trans people and that white men are bad and that you're giving up all your power over to someone else because somehow they're going to be less of a tyrant. This whole class of people, all of these people who are in this class of elite scientists, doctors, every single last one of them would replace your ass in a heartbeat because you're not smart enough, you're not rich enough, you don't have the right friends. They thought you were racist. They thought you didn't support trans rights. That's what I have a problem with these people. I like them. I like to geek out. I personally make CO2 sequestration machines that are like heat pumps, use these like biomimicry of like cold-blooded animals in order to take out CO2 and waste heat and take it out of your wastewater. And like I do, I wrote the world's fastest number printing algorithm, so my code's going to be on almost every computer in the world here over the next decade. I've got a bunch of startup companies. I just started the A startup. So like, I mean, I'm in this crew of people, right? I can't trust any of these lefties in this fucking, they are the ivory tower liberals. They all are. And they might be nice. Oh, that's the problem. All these ivory tower liberals are nice when you get a one-on-one, dude. All of them. So is Hitler nice. He was nice when you were one-on-one, right? That's the problem. Almost every single monster is nice one-on-one with them. Serial killers, nice when a one-on-one, right? Until they're killing you or torturing you, dismembering you. In fact, recently, who was it? Let's see. We got to go back on Twitter. Let's see the more crazy nonsense from liberals. This article here is from the Daily Caller. The Nation columnist defends Joe Biden from Tara Reid. I would vote for Joe Biden even if he boiled babies and ate them. Yes, you heard that right. Tara Reid would rather vote for Joe Biden even if he boiled babies and ate them. Huh? I'm sorry. Am I dreaming? Boiling and eating babies? You think Trump is... You would rather vote for somebody who boils and eats babies than Donald Trump? I mean, come on. Donald Trump's awesome, dude. He says so much funny shit. Liberals hate him so much, dude. He says so much stuff that sounds so fucking stupid. And it actually turns out to be genius. Like build the wall. Right? I'm building the wall. That sounded so stupid at first. Because it sounded racist. Like as if protecting the native population from encroaching populations from outside of the country who are not citizens, as if that's somehow bad for us. They would rather vote for someone who boils and eats babies. So you can't trust them. And it's because they value fairness over self-protection. See, that's the problem with these Steven Pinker universal morals is they conflict with each other a lot of times. This is why people have conflicting morals, because you've got different things where you're like, your appeal to authority, which is like can be authoritarianism. Like if you value the dictator and strength, that can then conflict with the notion of self-protection, right? The notion of fairness, and then voting fairness as being very great, like more important than protecting yourself. I mean, that's stupid. I mean, what kind of animal does that? But lots of these things that the left does, they come from things that don't exist in nature, like the WHO. Have you ever heard of a apex university that is the head university of every other university? They're the authority for everything that's knowledge. You ever heard of you ever heard of a corporation that's an apex corporation that controls all of the other corporations? It coordinates all of the other corporations. If such a corporation existed, would that not be a threat to our country, our freedom? It would. It would be a massive threat to our freedom and our safety and our family and our country if we had an apex corporation. But this is what liberals want. They want the WHO because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good when you think there's a World Health Authority that knows everything. It's going to coordinate everything. You're not going to ever have a pandemic be a problem ever again. until you realize that like they're in bed with the Chinese. We've been funding them $400 million a year. China's been giving them $40 million a year, and now they work for China. You can build a lot of bridges and roads for $400 million a year and generate a lot of tax money with that $400 million per year. Our infrastructure's degrading. It's going to cost $2 trillion to fix over 20 years. If we didn't fund the WHO, we could fix our infrastructure. Solution there. We got to get rid of all these institutions that have people like Fauci at the head. This guy gives out false information. He doesn't tell you right. There shouldn't be a head. There should not be. You know who should be the head? The people who are providing the solutions. The corporations, the universities with teams full of students who are actually volunteering and doing work and actually providing the thing for you. Those are the people who are supposed to be in control. I'm going to go two more. First one is from NPR. It says Trump returns to golf courses for the first time since March. The mainstream media has been going nuts, saying that, oh, look, Donald Trump is golfing. Like he's supposed to be working, protecting us from the pandemic. Like, I'm sorry, like, what world do they live in, dude? Donald Trump hasn't been out on the golf course since March, dude. He needs exercise, dude. He needs to like take a load off so he can come back and run the country. He can't work 7 days a week, 365 like he usually does. He can't, dude. He's got to take some time off he's got to go walk around outside and get some sun. It's just so irritating how these liberals want to just take anything that they can find that's sensational and just blow it out of proportion so they can get clicks. Next article from New York Post. Ron Jeremy reportedly facing new sex assault probe. Long story short, there's a lot of allegations he's a groper. Wouldn't doubt it. He looks like he could be a groper. You think he's a misogynist? I bet he's fucked more chicks than everybody you know together. I'm not sure exactly why. But apparently chicks will do crazy things for skeezy dicks. Last article here from New York Post, or Newsweek, sorry. And then I'm out. Christina Cuomo's website, The Purist, posted coronavirus misinformation about bleach, bath cures, and vitamin C. Christina Cuomo's online wellness magazine and lifestylist website, The Purist, have been found to spread, sorry, that's a repeat of the title, sloppy journalism. As usual from Newsweek, I don't read them because they're the best source. I read them because it's always easy to criticize them. Reading on the article, according to news monitoring site NewsGuard, May's misinformation monitor, the site has been red-rated as spread COVID-19 misinformation. Cuomo, who identifies herself as site's founder in the Twitter bio, has kept a blog on the site tracking her husband, CNN anchor Chris Cuomo's recovery from the coronavirus. Chris Cuomo's brother, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, has been a prominent in the state's work to slow the spread of COVID-19. I mean, I'm not going to say there's any sort of connection here between Bromo, who is Chris Cuomo, he's Bromo, and his brother Andrew. Reading on the article, it says in an April post, Christina Cuomo wrote that Dr. Linda Lancaster, who she explained had put her husband on a path to natural remedies, had prescribed, I take a type of homeopathic bath, a water and bleach bath, to combat the radiation and pollutants in my system and oxygenate it as a skin treatment. Oh, okay, it's Bromo's wife, right? No, I'm not. I'm okay. I'm not gonna put Bromo's wife's behavior on Bromo. I mean, obviously she's kooky, but she's probably pretty good looking. Is she? I'd tap that. Anyways, thank you for tuning into Real Simple News. I'm your host, Cale McCullough, captain of the Kabuki Starship. This is RSS Commentary. And until next time, farewell, sayonara, aloha, peace be with you,